Okay, Mayor Serkin, we're live and ready to begin the meeting.
Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting January 14th, 2021 to order. For opening ceremonies, we'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance and then have a moment of silence for Jerry Harbison, who was a former City of Montgomery council member and mayor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all.
And now a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay, Jamie, can you call the roll, please?
Councilman Jeff Capel,
Here.
Councilwoman Jill Cole,
Here.
Councilman Lee Zerwanka,
Here.
Vice Mayor Pramod Javeri,
Here.
Councilman Joe Leet,
Here.
Councilwoman Katie Schneider,
Here.
Mayor Mark Serkin,
Here.
7 present.
Thanks. Do I have a motion to accept tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Tonight we have a public hearing to consider approval of a final development plan. Jamie, will you please read the resolution 2021-01 by title only?
Approving a final development plan for a new residential development in the Parkview portion of the Neighborhoods at Summit Park subdivision in the Summit Park zoning district.
Thank you. We're going to have the applicants make their presentation. After that, we would have had public input, but nobody wanted to make any comments. And then councils can ask questions to the applicant. It's best to wait on any deliberation until later on in the meeting when we bring forth the resolution. But obviously, you can do whatever you feel necessary. But that's typically a little better. It gets a little time to think about things and maybe formulate some more opinions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the applicant. I don't know who's presenting or whom are presenting, but you can take over whoever it is. Looks like Steve, maybe?
Mark, I'm gonna turn the slides, but Steve Dragon is gonna lead us off.
Okay, thank you.
Can everybody see that?
Looks good.
Okay.
Thank you,
Steve?
Clete. The project that we have before council tonight is a new lifestyle community located in a part of the neighborhoods of Summit Park that we call the Parkview Neighborhood. Parkview is kind of a transitional area moving from the less intense Daventry single-family subdivision on the west side of the project over to the most intense portion of the development, that being what we call the district, that runs over to the east side of the project all the way to the Glendale Milford Reed Hartman Highway intersection. The specific project in front of you is in the western portion of the Parkview neighborhood, so it lies immediately adjacent to the Daventry subdivision. It extends over to the Carver Woods Drive extension, adjacent to the recently approved site of the Summit View office building, the first Summit View office building. To date, the city has approved 2 projects for this part of the development. The first being the Anthology Senior Living project, which is currently under construction and will be opening later this year. And the second being the Summit View office building in the central portion of Parkview, adjacent to the park itself. The master plan that the city approved a couple of years ago envisioned a mix of residential, office, senior living, and supportive retail for this part of the project, for this Parkview area. And the master plan further describes the kind of residential that's intended for this part of the project as a variety of residential products with the mix driven by achieving desired neighborhood characteristics, things like walkability, integration with the park, and integration with the other various uses that are mixed within this neighborhood. And it describes a number of residential products that might be included in that mix, including both condominiums and townhomes, which are what comprise the project that's in front of you tonight. Over the last year or so, we, as master developer, have been talking to various potential developers for this part of the project, trying to identify the best candidate to execute and deliver the vision that we in the city have for this part of the development. We've chosen to move forward with Matt Walker and his company, WP Land Company. Many of you will recall Matt from his involvement with the Daventry subdivision. At the time Daventry was approved, Matt was leading the effort for that part of the project with MI Homes. Not long after Daventry's approval, Matt left MI and started his own building and development company, WP Land Company. And he's since been doing some impressive work around the region. He was involved in the neighborhoods at Summit Park development from the very early stages all the way through the PUD zoning process. And so he has a thorough understanding of what we in the city want to achieve with this project. And we're excited to have him back as part of the team. We think that the products that Matt is bringing to this part of the development will set an exceptional level of quality for the project and offer distinct types of living environments that fill a need that's not already addressed by the existing Daventry single-family homes or the apartments at the approach. These are homes that we think will be a strong draw for employers and employees alike that are considering locating within the development, as well as within Blue Ash generally. And we're very excited about Matt's vision for this neighborhood component and are enthusiastic about the plan that he and his team have created for this part of the neighborhoods at Summit Park. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Matt to talk more about the particulars of this part of the project.
There, we got it unmuted. Hello, everybody. I'm Matt Walker. I'm the president and owner of WP Land Company. I just couldn't get enough of the site, and I had to come back. I say that tongue in cheek because I am extremely excited about the opportunity and feel very fortunate to be able to be the builder and developer for a site like this. I think the resources that have been created that surround the project and the way it's been handled and developed to date are exceptional. And I think they will allow me to achieve frankly, a product that has been lacking in Cincinnati, and in my opinion, is very needed. And from the feedback I've gotten so far, will be very well served. We plan on building a mixture of detached and attached townhomes and condo buildings through the project. I'm going to be using extremely high-end, high quality exterior and interior products through the build. And the reason is because one, I think the site deserves it. I think it screams it screams for that. And I think to achieve what I believe the target market to be, which is the price points on the townhomes between $500,000 and $800,000, and the price point on the condos from $450,000 to around $750,000. I think I'm going to have to deliver a high-end product that would be acceptable to the market. We have worked. The culmination of this has been over at least a year, maybe closer to 2, since the first time Cleet and I went down to Atlanta. There's a builder down there that does very high-end, very, and he pulls off medium density developments, which is what I would call this, in a way that I am blown away by. And the use of landscaping that coordinates through it, that brings the feel up so that you don't feel the density as you're walking from building to building, and the use of the high-end residential materials, along with what is key is a professionally planned color scheme throughout the project to make sure that it all fits in and plans together. It just works. And the location at the Summit Park allows us to be able to pull this off in Cincinnati, and I'm pretty excited about it. You will see a change on the elevations from the time when we came up and talked to you guys at the park. when we were outside this summer. We took your comments to the exterior elevations of the condos, and we added some gables and some roof systems to that to give it a more residential feel from the feedback that we received at that time. Other than that, we're here. I think Cleet's going to talk a little bit more about the land plan now, but we're here for comments as we go through this presentation.
Thanks, Matt. Any questions or comments before I jump in here? Okay. So as Matt pointed out, before we ever came up with a land plan for this new neighborhood, we spent 2 solid days touring projects in suburban Atlanta. We obviously looked at a lot of projects in greater Cincinnati. And to Matt's point, what you'll see as we walk through this is that in order to really satisfy today's buyers, buyers have become more sophisticated. They've become more dialed into what they really want and what they really value in a house. And so we had some learnings on that field trip for sure, but we also learned some things about Daventry after working on Daventry. And I think Matt's vision for that was amazing, but he would tell you that those side yards, for example, are not creating any value. They're not creating any value for the city. They're not creating any value for the residents because they can't live in them. They can't really do anything in them. And so one of the principles of the housing that Matt is referring to is this idea of maximizing the livable space that they have. And actually, by bringing the side yards a little closer together, you can actually create usable side yards, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. And kudos to Matt for discovering that and wanting to bring that to Cincinnati. So when we do that, though, we want to be sensitive to the character that's already been established and to the master plan. And so I flipped to this image of Daventry, and this was a master plan image. And if you were to look at the aerial of the project today, it looks almost spot on to the master plan. And I think that speaks to the commitment that Matt and MI had at the time. It also speaks to the amount of work that goes into thinking through what the layout and the land plan ought to be. Nobody can predict the future, but we feel like the land plan that we have has staying power and creates a great balance, like Daventry did, between the public realm and the private realm of your home. So when we flip to the land plan, you'll see that we have very similar characteristics to Daventry. We have a neo-traditional house where all the frontage is on public space or the street. We're using rear-loaded garages to hide and conceal, the life of cars and really celebrate the life of people. And so when you look at this diagram, this land plan, you'll see that we have 2 major neighborhood open spaces, one of which is very prominently connected to the park. And so this larger block here is, of course, the condominium buildings, 2 of them facing one another, creating that courtyard. Over here, next to the rehab hospital that you all will be seeing shortly and commenting on, I believe, we've got another condo building with a smaller courtyard space. The idea is that certainly people are going to buy there because they want to take advantage of Summit Park living. They want to walk the trails. They want to go to the restaurants. They want to do everything that you have so smartly set up there. But when there's a neighborhood event, when there's social gatherings between neighbors, this plan delivers that to them. And that's probably about all I can say about a plan at this scale. The lighting that will be used will be the same lighting as was used in Daventry. The street is the same street that serves Daventry. The landscaping will be done in a similar fashion to Daventry, so it feels like it's part of a cohesive neighborhood. The neighborhoods at Summit Park, you don't want to have a stark shift from one to the next. And so the way that we've clustered the townhomes and the condominiums is creating a consistent street wall and a very walkable feel. When we talk about the condo buildings, and Jim Gellis from New Republic will walk us through those in more detail, but we're really looking at maximizing the usability of even that courtyard space. So you'll see that we've got a public gathering area in here being proposed. The exact details, obviously, will be part of the next phase, the final development, the permit drawings. But the idea is that there is a public patio out here with casual seating, maybe some overhead lighting, very well landscaped. You've got private patios off to the sides, and there's no color on these, so I apologize for that. But you'll have private living areas where you can, if you wanted to, talk across to your neighbor or meet and greet people as they walk down the street. So really celebrating the walkability and the sociability of the neighborhood with the way that the condominium buildings are arranged. When you drive through the neighborhood, the parking for the condominium buildings is all concealed under the building. So we're sloping down to get underneath the building and have all of that parking back there. I'm going to flip back for a second to the other plan, and because I failed to mention that the parking for all of these townhomes and single family homes is on the lot. So each house has a 2-car, whether it's a townhouse, an attached townhouse or detached, it has a 2-car garage. So you've got 2 dedicated spaces for the residents in the house. And then in most of these, probably 60% of the driveways, they're deep enough to store another 2 cars. So we really didn't, like we did at Daventry, we decided to do away with the idea of car parking off the alley. There's plenty in the way that this land plan is set up to have it right behind the house, right behind the garage. So we feel like what you're going to be seeing are very nicely landscaped approaches and aprons and front walks. And we'll get into that in a minute. So here's the south side, very same concept, combination of attached and detached homes. Driving under the condo building here and here. Matt mentioned, and I quickly flipped to this when he was talking about the quality of materials and the detailing. So this is that builder that he was referring to down in Atlanta, and Matt has a custom design. We're not copying what the other builder did, but I just want to call your attention to some of the important details. This is an alley. This is somebody's entry, but it doesn't look like an entry you would expect to see off an alley. It looks like a front yard. It's a compact front yard. Here's another alley entrance. There's the garage door. There's a small apron and then a change in pavement. The idea, I think, is to really create a varied carpet of materials, paving materials, and then really celebrate the landscaping in these, not make it Spartan. It's not intended to be no maintenance. On the contrary, these will be maintained by the Homeowners Association, the Landominium Association, where there's common maintenance of all of these semi-public areas. Somebody could certainly maintain their own container garden or something like that. And Matt can share the details if you wish to question him more about it. But like at Daventry, the landscaping will be part of the the experience of buying a home, you'll have more leisure time because you're not out there with a mower. You're not out there with a hedge trimmer trying to maintain that. The side yards will have usability, and even the porches will have some usability. So the design that we're going to show you has some balconies for outdoor living. Where we have a front porch, this could, for example, be the sidewalk along the park. There will be on some of these units a front porch that's large enough for a social gathering. There would be living areas in the rear of the lot where I might have a grill, or I might put up a little reading garden back here. And so we're really using the side wall of the adjacent unit where those windows will not be at ground level. If there are windows, they're going to be transom windows that provide light, but allow that public or that private space to be really controlled by the one neighbor. It's not shared space from a social point of view. It's private space. Let's see. So if we were to look at that in a little more detail here, you can see that blown up to a little larger scale. I'm going to turn it over to Jim to talk about the prototypes for the homes, the unit designs. Before I did that, did anybody want to offer any questions or comments? Is there anything you think I should touch on that I may have missed?
Lee, quick question.
Yeah.
This is Lee.
Yeah.
Is this going to be one HOA or multiple HOAs?
I'll throw that back to Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Cleet. It would be two. There'd be one HOA that would manage the detached and attached townhomes, and there'd be another one that would manage the condo association. Most likely, the master association would govern the townhomes, whether they be detached or attached, and then you'd have a supplemental condo association underneath it that would also be a part of the overall homeowner association.
Thanks, Matt. Any other questions before Jim?
Quick one is, will each of the units, the townhome units, will they each have a side yard, or is that just the ones that are, not attached?
Yeah, so the attached townhomes will not have a side yard. They may, however, have a balcony off the back, or they might have a larger front porch for that kind of thing.
I have a quick question on the side yards again. Is it going to be that I have access to one side yard and the other neighbor doesn't? Like it's mine, so I can plant whatever I want and set it up however I want? Or is it really going to be shared yet, because you said something about, smaller side yards more usable. And I think it would be if my neighbor couldn't put what they want there, if they have the one on the other side of their building. So I'm just a little confused.
Yeah, no, you're right, Mark. You will have control of that side yard. So you essentially have one side yard as the homeowner. Okay. Good question. Without any other comments, I'll turn it over to Jim.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, very good. Thank you, Cleet. And as we talked about the townhomes, when I joined this team, I was really excited because I was inspired by the vision that was articulated by WP in this new development. It is a unique offering, not only for Blue Ash, but really the Cincinnati market. And the townhomes are an important element, but they're just one element in the big composition of what this community offers. It's a lifestyle. These are the attached homes as we see here. And what we emphasize is it's a palette of quality, durable materials. There is variety, but it is a controlled variety. I mean, this is a planned community. The townhomes have a pedestrian scale because you don't see the automobile, it's in the back. There is a vertical emphasis. There are familiar forms that identify the entrance, whether it's an awning, a canopy, and as we scroll down, you'll see gabled fronts, balconies. All these really reinforce the pedestrian scale of this development. Here you see the detached homes. And so there will be a simple palette, but it's brick, clay brick, stucco, and fiber cement board, and with offering a variety of textures. Second, we also paid attention, the design utilizes a variety of window types to articulate, to give a variety of designs, but again, in a controlled manner. Whereas you might see maybe a traditional cornice with the two homes on the right, they're complemented with a contrasting gable front, the Flemish gable in this case. Next slide. And again, more of the town homes. And some might have a more modern feel, a more abstract feel, but others very much traditional detailing, traditional use of materials. Next slide. This particular home we offered where the site might have a slope. You'll see there it has an elevated entrance, and again that starts to articulate the transition from public space, semi-public, and then into the private realm. Next slide. The floor plans. Most of these townhomes are 3 stories. So the garage comes in on the ground level, and then you enter, and there's either a flex space, recreation area, and there's to the right of the screen, you'll see alternative uses of that ground floor space. It's the second floor where the main living area is. And that's even a traditional urban scheme going back centuries where the main living area was always on the second floor. And then the bedrooms are up on the top floor. Next slide. Another one of our models here. And as Cleek mentioned, balconies are on the back for these homes. Where possible, the site plan strives to give a view to the park or to a common green space. And here's another one of the homes also. This one's unique where this particular model, you have a balcony that's on a corner and where there's an opportunity to give, it's that one right there. Again, to take advantage of a view. It's a bigger balcony.
So Jim, this is a transition slide that's intended to give you a little pause, maybe take questions, and then talk about the condo buildings next. Hearing none.
I have
Okay.
one question.
Yes, sir.
The condos which is connected with one another, the row house it calls. I have seen in timbers, they have some partition in between the condos. Are these condos going to have a partition that individual people can do what they want to do, or some kind of a partition? Number one, that's the questions I have.
Structurally,
Yeah.
I mean, there will be structural separations. They are typically designed to promote, if the concern is about soundproofing, they are double walled or joined.
Trying to find I guess we don't have a floor plan that shows them gang together. But
Would be per fire code, the double walls, right?
Fire code dictates it's mostly for soundproofing. We can get them fireproof, but it's the double wall really is what gives you the effective soundproofing.
Okay.
What is the actual feet between the detached units? So what's the setback on each apply, I guess.
And generally they're 5 feet. And that again, it would be driven 5 feet minimum. And then obviously where we want to widen it to create, recess some of the areas and create wider spaces.
Thank you.
Did you say that the balconies are generally going to be at the back of the units? And does that mean that they'll be looking over the driveway, or is my orientation off on this?
That was my question too.
If-
Yeah.
Same here.
If they're, well, Clete, you can address this as well, but you know, in the earlier images, we show the landscaping of the alleyways, so that it's not, that word alley conjures up an image, and that's not the vision for this development.
Yeah, good point, Jim. I think when we're talking about an alley, these are the alleys. So it's not, Matt and Jim and New Republic have paid attention to the detailing at the back of the house. It's not going to look like the back of an apartment building. There's attention to the detailing, there's attention to the articulation, there's attention to the materials, and a commitment to a landscape that really makes that feel like a street. It's a very small street. It's kind of an old world street, but it's a street. It's got a social life to it. People may choose to socialize back there as they do in neighborhoods all over the city. They're just going to be doing it in a smaller footprint, really.
But you'll be sitting on your balcony, you'll be looking at your neighbor's garage, or are the sight lines offset so that doesn't happen?
I'll go back to the plan. So we don't really have really long blocks anywhere. I think that was one of the nice features of the plan, is that really one of the longest situations you have is here, and you can see that you're not looking directly into another garage. You're looking at a corner of the house. Over here, there really aren't that many that are facing head on. And all of those have apertures to the park as well. So there's sight lines to the park throughout. Sometimes they're subtle, sometimes they're very grand, but we feel like when you're back there, it'll feel very comfortable. You're going to be off the street, so it's not like you have to. If you didn't want to, you don't have to greet everybody that walks by off the balcony.
One more question I had was, I saw that, I love how you've mixed up the materials, but I feel like sometimes in our climate, stucco doesn't hold up particularly well. I don't know, maybe this is a newer version or one that's more tolerant to our climate conditions. If you could address that.
Sure, I'll address it. I think it's exactly that. I think stucco and EIFS has come a long way in how it's put up, and I think it has it's much more substantial in a residential use versus a office building that may or may not get more people brushing up against it and things of that nature. That said, the use of the materials as we see it allows us to break up the feelings of the houses while not having to change our color scheme significantly. So one of the big ways to, when I said professionally planned colors and how important that is it allows all of those to work together. And if you bring another product in there, it allows you to stay in the same color scheme, but give it a dimension and a feel as you come down the street, where if we did them all in brick for say, there's only so many ways I can do brick without having to change the colors. And then we may get to some colors that scream a little, just a little bit brighter or a little less consistent with that feel that we're trying to create, which is more of a, when I think of it, I think of like a European garden that you'd go into, and it's all got fairly natural. Even the paint colors are very natural in tone, and we use the materials to help offset that as opposed to just trying to do it with just paints. Did that help and answer your question?
Okay, we're ready for the condos. Okay. The condos evolved And this was, we wanted to, obviously, this is the higher density. Keep it right there, Clete, because I like this. Even though each building has about 36 units, we wanted to create a, I don't want to just overuse the word residential, but really make it feel like individual townhomes or joined townhomes. But the use of the gables, the use of traditional forms, balconies, all in an interesting rhythm and pattern. A lot of effort went into that to really connect, not only break up what might be an otherwise large building, but also dealing with the design at the base of the building, the outdoor terraces, to really connect the building to its surroundings, connect it to the streetscape or connect it to the landscape of the courtyard. And that was a very important part of the thinking that went into the design of these condos. You see the portion, how the garage is under the building. It is partially underground, has to be accessible. And we use the terraces, especially on the left and the middle, to extend, to go out beyond the wall of the building and wrap around that garage and also create that formal composition of a building base, a building body, and a building and a crown. And so a simple palette of materials again, white brick, fiber cement board, the balconies, and shingled roofs. Now the thing, yeah, the color scheme and the texture, the materials were inspired by these images. And I want to emphasize, if you look at a metal that's very traditional detailing, you looked at the image at the middle right, a more abstracted interpretation of traditional forms. But we are somewhere in between. We're not a literal recreation of history, but we want to make it, we wanted to interpret those forms, that detailing, and do it in a way that was creative and also at the same time up to date. The floor plan is laid out simply in an L shape. And you start to see some of these outdoor terraces, how individual units, if you're on the ground floor, you will have your own private outdoor terrace. It's slightly elevated and yet there's steps so neighbors can walk by, but there's a clear definition of the public and the private realm. Because of the change and because of the slope of the site, it's subtle, but there's a slope. We do have ramps at the front entrance to give and the back entrances to provide accessibility. And that will give us an opportunity for some interesting landscape and hardscape features as well. No, that's good. Go ahead. Next slide. Yes. This is the lower level garage. And again, it's simple structure. It is the foundation for the building. And it's accessible by elevator. There will, I think that's it.
So Jim, it might be helpful to talk about the parking. So if I'm a resident, I have all of my parking is satisfied. All the required parking is satisfied under the building. We also have guest parking along the streets. We have parallel parking throughout the street network. And so we actually exceed the required parking, but we've done it in a way where it's screened. So it's really the best of both worlds from our point of view. We have Sean McIntosh from Cardinal Engineering on the phone with us. Gordon Perry is probably dying to ask a question about the utilities for the project. But if nobody else is interested, or if Gordon really doesn't want to step up and ask a question about that, Sean is happy to stay on the call muted. Any other questions for the team? I think that's probably the end of our presentation.
I wanted to follow up on the issue of having two homeowners associations, because it seems like that could get a little confusing. And I definitely wouldn't want to see a situation down the road where, something needs to be done, but the only thing that's happening is one homeowners association telling the other homeowners association, it's your responsibility, and it goes both ways. So like, what's the clear line of separation that defines what does the one association do, and what does the other association do, and how have we made sure that all work that needs to get done by an association is in fact going to get done by one of those two?
I'll answer that. I should have been more clear. There'll be one association with a sub part of it within it. It would still be managed by the same manager. You would have one president of the overall association that would govern, and then you'd have another board along the condos to deal with those issues. There's just too many separate issues between the two buildings to not have a separate one for the condos to manage for internal spaces, internal walkways, and some of that kind of stuff. But it's the same management company and the same overall. I don't expect it would be too confusing because most master plans are like that. So much, for example, I'm sure the stuff around Carpenter's Ridge, around the golf course there's multiple different uses and multiple different types of products that wrap the Blue Ash Golf Course. And there's probably a master overall association with multiple sub-associations. That's what this is going to be. It's not like it would be two associations fighting. There would be a master that governs with another one that would deal with more detailed problems within it.
So it's basically, we have one master association, and then underneath that is then kind of its own condo association, which deals with issues that are specific only to the 3 condo buildings.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. That's all I had. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
And this is Katie. Can you point out to me where the outside parking is located for the condos?
Yeah. The designated spaces along the street there, you see them marked.
Got it.
And it's parallel parking.
And so the entrances to the condo are what you see kind of the front of the buildings or from the elevators below?
And then you got the 2 side. So I'm sorry, pedestrian entrances, yes.
Or the elevator. And 2 off the back as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Question, and this is for Matt. As far as the 3 condo buildings, is there a game plan? You're just going to build a whole building and then sell individual units and then move to the next building based on sales? And what's that percentage going to be like that you foresee?
I would expect to start the second building upon hitting about 80% of sales in the first condo building. One, you don't want to put too many out in front of you, and you've got to get a certain percentage before you finance a whole nother building. So I would look at 80% before you move to the next.
And the individual homes will be based on sales as they go, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I mean, when you have a strip of attached, we would probably, if we had one sold, we'd probably build the strip and have 3 specs.
Is there any one of the townhomes that you plan on building first? The ones near the Daventry open space, the ones next to the condos, the attached, or the ones to the, I guess it'd be northeast?
It would be the initial phase of the detached and attached townhomes would be as you come from Daventry, the first section on your left adjacent to the park.
Well, so where you got the little browser thing, this is towards the park here, you're telling me?
Yes, sir. Summit Park would be north.
Okay, that's not where I was pointing, but what's down here by the, yeah. Okay, this is Plainfield Road down here, right? I'm trying to get my bearings.
Plainfield is to the left on the screen.
Okay.
The MI Homes development, the single family homes that are there are between the this phase and Plainfield Road,
Okay. How much of an open space is that going to be?
between the Daventry and those sites. I don't know, it's part of the Daventry overall plan. It's probably it's a drainage corridor that has one detention pond and its significant planting plan as part of their plan. I couldn't tell you exactly how significant, but it's a decent distance between each other and creates a real change of product and feel.
Okay, and where your cursor is at now, if you go, there you go. And those are the condos that you plan on, that's the condos you plan on putting in right there?
Those right there, that was the initial proposal as part of the initial overall plan. Now where that building is, Clete, if you put your cursor on that building, where that building is, those will now be the single family detached townhomes. And then the condos would be sitting about where that second condo building is shown right there. It allows a good transition from the single family detached into single family detached unattached into condos, and it allows a natural transition into density.
This is Katie. I have one more question. So based on the images you were showing, is it correct that the townhomes will be more flat rooftops?
They'll vary. If you could you go to some of the elevations, Clete? That one that shows some flats and it showed the peak. So they'll vary. There will be a mixture of both flat, both, you've got this gable on it. And then if you don't care, Clete, go down, you'll see some different, there's a mixture of, maybe go down. Yeah, there's a mixture of different rooftops to allow allow some variety. What you don't want stark variety. You don't want to go from all flat to all peaks. You want a little bit of variety in the middle, as the same way with colors and feel, to give that high end, high quality effect.
Thank you.
One more question on the 3-story townhomes. What about fire escape? Escaping a fire. I mean, is that up to the residents to have a fire rope, or we only have the one entrance in the front and one entrance in the back, the garage? Is that true? Am I seeing this correctly?
It is. There's an entrance in the front of the house. There'd be an entrance or there would be an exit. In that case, at the front of the house, there'd be an exit at the rear of the house.
And the one at the rear is the only one at the rear is the garage, correct?
Yes, sir.
What thoughts or what is your idea on the, I'm sure you've got a plan on what your performance is or how long this build out will take. How long will this project last?
I hope really fast.
Yeah, I know, but it's a different time right now.
I know. I think the reality is the townhomes, the detached, and I'm going to tell them in two different ways, and then we'll give you an overall. But I think the townhomes, I think that the sales and build, the sales is probably about a 3.5-year plan, and the build out is probably a 4.5-year plan to 5. And I think the condos is probably a 3 to 7. So 3 for the first building and then 7 for the overall project. It could go longer than that. It really ultimately depends on the demand and the speed, as I will build one and then move to the next instead of building. I will not build them all at the same time. So I think the overall life of the entire project is probably 5 to 7 years.
Do you guys do your own marketing, or do you hire an outside agent or an agent to do the sales for you?
So currently I utilize Sipsy Klein to do the sales, and I will on this project. And the plan is to do that on this project. One of the reasons why is because of their their knowledge in all the stuff that they sold in downtown Hyde Park and downtown Marymount, that we're selling the same type of condo in this location. And I believe they've proven their ability to execute that. So I have aligned myself with them.
I have one question. Can you give us some square feet area of all three different condominiums, buildings?
Yeah, Jim, can you help me with that?
The individual townhomes, they range anywhere from about 2,600 up to 3,100 square feet approximately. You know, the D1 style home is a total of 3,093 square feet. That's with all three floors.
That's including the garage. Yes?
I believe so, yes. And then the D3 is larger. Yeah, the D4 is the largest, 1,000, actually, yeah, 1,190.
If you wanted to do livable square footage, the livable square footage of the townhomes are around 2,200 to 2,700 square feet, minus the garages. The condos, that's the one I've been focused so much on how they live. I do not have it memorized on the square footage, but I think Jim has that.
I do have the condo units. The one bedrooms are around 1,200 square feet. One bedroom plus study goes up to 1,400 square feet. And then the two bedrooms start at 1,460 square feet and go as high as 1,600 square feet. Then the three bedrooms are pretty close. They're between 2,500 and 2,700 square feet. And these are flats, so.
Thank you.
Do you have an estimated cost of the 2,700 foot flats, the 9 in each building, what that's going to look like?
Well, that just depends on what kind of features you want in it.
Well, you gave the cost 450 to 750 for the different options in the project. So I didn't know if they would be on the very top of the scale, or I would assume one of the bigger detached D4s would be the top of the scale.
Yes, sir. I expect those to start the base prices in that 750. Please know I gave you base pricing. I didn't give you with options. I think I look to see some of those top larger units to really push above 750 up into the 8s and hopefully a little higher. It really, with the finishes and the way we're going to build this out, I look to them to deliver a lot like the pricing that you see down in Marymount.
You know, it's the second time I heard Marymount. You know, and to compare Blue Ash to Marymount, I just don't say that's a fair comparison. Marymount was built back in the olden days, I'll just say, for lack of better terms, as a low-income neighborhood, and it just started to come to life or come to fruition in the last, say, 45 years or so, and now it's a place to be, and now we're trying to create that. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, sir. I'm sorry if I came off that way. I was really just trying to utilize an existing product that lies within Cincinnati that I was hoping you guys were familiar with, that mirrors close to the product that we'd be living here. Has nothing to do with this.
Marymount was actually built in the floodplain back in the day. So
the condos were built in the last 10 years, but
correct. Yeah, the condos, I agree.
Which is what I was trying to go for. So I was trying to illustrate an existing product that mirrored the types of materials and the delivery that I'm attempting to do.
Okay.
In no way was I trying to associate the two cities.
Yeah, neighborhoods change as well. Like my mom grew up in a lower income neighborhood in New York City. 10 years ago, she looked up the house she grew up in and it was selling for over $300,000. So, you know, things change. And like you said, we're looking at the product more so than the trying to say Marymount is exactly the same as Blue Ash. And one question that I had too, I'm kind of piggybacking off of Councilman Cole's question, is like, what kind of market research did you do to give both yourselves and then us the confidence that what we're looking at here is in fact in demand and should sell in due time?
There was a couple professional market studies done that led us to believe we're hitting the right square footages and offerings. But I would tell you that we should just look at the best market intelligence that we can get is what is happening right now. What did Daventry sell for? What are the sales prices in there? What were they able to create? And I believe that their prices generally were from 500 and we had five houses that I know of that pushed above $1 million, with every intent to keep those pricing down. I think I am basically coming in with what I believe to be a higher finished product, mirroring close to the same square footages with higher qualities at lower or at the existing prices. I think that is one of the best ways that you can compare yourselves out there. And there seemed to be no shortage of demand for the sales pace that happened right next door.
One question on those condo building, are you providing any storage room underneath? Extra storage room for the people?
Go ahead, Jim.
No, go to the garage level. I mean, right there is room. You see sort of where the parking spaces are indicated. We didn't articulate, but that 8 foot, 9 foot wide, looks like a sidewalk. That's actually where individual storage units would be provided.
Oh, okay.
For the residents.
Yeah, you never mentioned about that storage room, so.
I apologize for that yet.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good idea.
No, that's a good question.
Does anybody else have any questions? I just have one, and I
Yeah,
don't.
go ahead, Mark.
Oh, go ahead, Jill. That's fine.
No, I'm just a little concerned. Again, this is a tough time right now. Now we can't make all of our decisions based on the current, last 10 or 11 months, but there are some products that are kind of similar to this in Blue Ash that I think aren't doing so well. And the apartment building, that's on Summit is not maybe performing as we would want. And, it's just a little concerning. I think the last thing we want to have is a project that doesn't succeed.
Oh, I agree with you. I don't want it to not succeed either. I can tell you, and I'm a younger guy. I'm 45 years old, but I've been very fortunate to do a whole lot of units in multiple states, in multiple price points and multiple targets. And I think the opportunity that we have in this location with the school system, and it's not necessarily going to have a lot of kids in this. I don't mean that, but school systems provide value. And the Sycamore school system is a very strong school system that provides a great value. The park that you guys have created next to this is, in my belief, second to none in the city. I think it's gorgeous. I've been as committed to this project from the start as I think I've been any project I've been associated with. We're in walking distance to a public golf course that is in the top 100 golf courses in the United States. There's a Y again. I said Y. The Blue Ash Rec Center, again within walking distance to this site. I think there has not been in showing the Great Traditions project that they did on Plainfield, and the MI Homes project that was done is called Daventry. In this location, in this part of Blue Ash, there's been an extremely high demand shown, and it's just kudos to you guys for the management of the city and the creation of this asset. I don't have the fear or the risk as much as I do others. You need some. You'd be foolish to not have some, but we feel like that we have done the research that we need to do to make sure that this was going to hit a mark, and it's going to hit a mark in a successful way.
Hey, Mark, are we discussing this more about this resolution 2021-01 when we read the resolution, right?
The suggestion was we do deliberations at that point. This is a great time to ask. And it's not like you can't ask questions, during that session also, but the suggestion was try to get a lot of your questions out now. Take a moment to breathe, get through the rest of the meeting, and then, we can deliberate between ourselves and ask questions as we need at the time where we bring the motion for the resolution forward.
Okay, that's why I want to say a few points I have. I want to talk when I read the resolution 21-01.
I had just a couple questions, and I don't know if there'll be an answer, and it's maybe too early. Do we have any information you can share with us about the 75,000 square foot commercial building, which is in the corner of this, right next to this project? Yeah. Or is that one supposed to be the, I'm sorry, maybe that
No,
one's.
that's the medical, isn't it? The
Okay.
future development is the medical or the rehab hospital, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have it. So if you go upper right, are we closer to where the approved office building development was, the 75,000 square foot one?
That's correct. Yeah, that's the location.
I mean, is there anything happening? Is there any progress? Do you have anything you are allowed to tell us about tenants, leases, anything like that?
Unfortunately, I don't have a ton of information that I can share. We continue to market the property aggressively. As you can imagine, it's a difficult time for new office lease up. We have some prospects that we're pursuing actively, and we continue to have the brokers marketing it throughout the city and countrywide, but we don't have any announcements to make just yet.
What brokerage? I'm sorry, I don't recall. What brokerage company are you working with on that?
CBRE.
CBRE, okay.
And related, because we haven't seen it yet, do you have any information on the employment situation at the rehabilitation hospital, which is right there next to this project?
No, not tonight. We will have it for you when that case appears before you. We'll have that ready, and actually we'll try to deliver it to you before the meeting, so you have a chance to review it. We know that they're putting that information together for the city council's review.
I don't know if this is appropriate to mention or not, but I did listen to the planning commission presentation. I think, sorry, my internet may be unstable. And I know there was one concern raised about the back of this building. It's on the bottom part, the single building, that residents would be overlooking the parking lot in that hospital. I imagine you guys are going to be looking at that though. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe I responded to that question in planning commission, and I invite Matt if he cared to weigh in. These two projects have been planned together, so there's a pretty significant amount of buffer yard between the two uses that we think effectively buffers the uses between the other. And I know Matt's been very much paying attention to how that hospital has come together. And I believe Matt, I can say that Matt is comfortable that condominium building will be compatible with that layout adjacent.
That hospital absolutely cannot be pink. I say that. I agree with Steve. I've been a part of it. I've seen the layout. I feel like that the landscape buffer and walking area that we've done, along with the parking lot separation to the building, is what was needed. What I'd really not like is if the building was set against it. That's where I think the bigger hurdle would be. And I think they've done a good job making that happen. They just got to make sure that they put the no pink color into the restrictions by the final approval.
I know it's not our focus tonight, but do you know if that hospital is inpatient? Is it 24 hours?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's inpatient.
It is.
Thank you.
Yeah, not acute care, but it is inpatient. I would like to mention, I believe I heard one comment about the apartments. We're anxious to have those full of residents, but I would tell you that it's a large project, and it's actually performing slightly better on lease up than what we had pro forma. So we're actually slightly ahead of target despite the environment we're in. So we feel really strongly about that. The quality of that project, the response we've gotten has been really good in the market, and we think it's a great project. It just proves how much people want to live in Blue Ash and near that park. And in addition, we've heard from our leasing agents and property managers there that they get questions regularly asking, are there going to be more for sale homes near the park, more condos, more townhomes, the kind of thing that Matt's talking about doing here. So we have that little bit of empirical evidence that there is a demand out there that's not yet being served by what we've done so far. So it gives us a lot of confidence in what's being planned on our end.
And Mr. Dragon, that's the first time I've heard that. I like the names and numbers of each of those tenants.
We'll get them. We'll get them to you.
I can tell you that every tenant I've talked to that's living at the approach likes it and is happy and glad they made that move. So for whatever that means from the man on the street, I've definitely heard some positives. So, does anybody have any other questions they want to get to right now? If not, why don't we move ahead, because we're going to circle right back to this pretty quickly. Can we go back to the original screen? There you go. Thank you. All right, let's move to approval minutes. Can we, do I have anybody a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of December 10th, 2020?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good. Jamie, do we have any communications to council?
There are none tonight, Your Honor.
Are there any reports from outside agencies? And seeing none, the mayor's report will be entered into the public record. Do I have a motion to accept December 20th, December 2020's financial report?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We did not have anybody who registered for hearings from citizens, so we're going to move on to committee reports. Finance and Administration Committee, Councilperson Lee Zerwanka.
Jamie, please read resolution number 2021-02 by title only.
Providing for amendments within the 2021 annual appropriation resolution number 2020-62.
Move to adopt resolution number 2021-02.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Jamie, please call a roll.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Capel,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilman Leet,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Mayor Serkin,
Yes.
7 yeses.
Jamie, please read resolution number 2021-03 by title only.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a multi-year collective bargaining agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police Ohio Labor Council, Inc., the Police Dispatchers Bargaining Unit.
Move to adopt resolution number 2021-03.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is about what? 4 people, 5 people? Is it?
It's our dispatchers, yeah.
Yeah, so small amount. Always interesting that they have their own little bargaining unit.
And this is a 3-year deal, right?
I believe it is, Jill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks.
Me, David, who? Okay. Any other questions? Jamie, please call the roll.
Councilman Leet,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilman Capel,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Mayor Serkin,
Yes.
7 yeses.
Jamie, please read resolution number 2021-04 by title only.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into an economic development agreement with High Road Holdings LLC, doing business as Everything But the House.
Move to adopt resolution number 2021-04.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just
I mean,
one
there-
question.
Yeah, go
I'm sorry,
ahead.
Go
Joe.
ahead, Jill.
I was just gonna say, so they're expanding this much on their existing site.
Plus, they're also going to have, they're looking for another office space
Oh, okay.
also.
Okay.
They've arisen.
Yes.
From
Jeff?
the ashes.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you
Yeah,
have a
just, yeah, the one question I had is, like, when it says 500,000 in new annual earnings taxes, or have we definitely made the switch now to where that's accounting for the amount of people that they expect to work from home?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
any other questions? Jamie, please call the roll.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman Leet,
Yes.
Mayor Serkin,
Yes.
7 yeses.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Let's move to Parks and Recreation Committee. Councilwoman Katie Schneider.
Thank you. Jamie, could you please read resolution number 2021-05 by title only?
Authorizing the purchase of replacement field turf for Field A at the Blue Ash Sports Center, including installation through the Unified Purchasing Cooperative of the Ohio River Valley for a total amount not to exceed a net amount of $449,000.
Move to adopt resolution number 2021-05.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this one?
There was a citizen who wrote in about possibly using the old turf and putting it over at the dog park. And I actually went to talk to Carol at Camp Bow Wow to see how they dealt with their AstroTurf. And the long and short of it, you can't just throw it over grass or dirt. You have to have an entire system underneath, a base, aeration. They have to be, it's not like dirt and grass. You have to rinse off the dog's waste. You also have to every day put a disinfectant on it. So it would be an extraordinarily expensive saving of the AstroTurf to put at the dog park. We have to have a lot of people working there to hose it off 365 days a year and then do the disinfection. It would not be a money saver. So we had a really fun talk about it, but the only reason that they have AstroTurf is they don't have enough land to have enough grass for all the dogs they have to use that area. So learn something.
Interesting. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, Jamie, could you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman Leet,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Mayor Serkin,
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, let's move to Planning and Zoning Committee. Vice Mayor Javari.
Yes. I move the motion setting public hearing on Thursday, January 28th at 7:05 p.m. to consider approval of a final development plan for rehabilitation hospital in the Parkview portion of the neighborhood and Summit Park subdivision in Summit Park zoning district. Any discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Jimmy, can you roll call or just,
No, that's
it's
fine.
fine?
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, Jimmy, would you please read the resolution number 2021-01 by the title only?
Approving a final development plan for a new residential development in the Parkview portion of the neighborhoods at Summit Park subdivision in the Summit Park zoning district.
Move to the resolution number 2021-01. Any discussion?
Need a second.
You need a second.
Second? Okay. Any discussion, please?
Somebody jump in.
Yes, I like to talk about this a little bit more. What you guys have showed, it's a very, very nice plan, and it enhanced our Summit Park also. But I have a few questions that in my mind, whether it's a worthy or not worthy, or because I'm looking into this condo, so many things we are putting into this 99-acre land. And then if we already have our, what you say, it's a condo that we are putting in right now, its total comes out to 180. And if you consider 3 people in a one condo, so that comes out on 540 people. Then you go into the homes, which is 104, and you multiply by 3 people, it comes out like a 412. Then you move to the apartment, there are 300. 2 people on each condo, approximately. So there is a 600 people. If you're talking about the hospital, if it is, then it's 100 bed, as I knew in the past what you have proposed, or we talked about it. Is it like putting 1.5, there's another 150 people. So if you consider all this together, it's a 1701, close to 1700 people we are increasing our population over there. Total population of our Blue Ash is 12,000, so we are increasing close to 15 to 20% population. On top of these 4 things, there is a hotel. If they're gonna build a hotel, the hotel will have 100 other people coming, going in and out. Then we're talking about the commercial office buildings. Right now, we're talking about 75,000 square feet area. And we do not know when we're gonna have some people on the commercial buildings. So I'm just looking at these numbers that, it's increasing so much. And now, if we do all these things, we do not have any income coming in. So I just want to discuss more with our council people that where would you like to take this whole project? Because it's increasing such a tremendous populations over there. So I just like to take my time on this one and discuss with all our council people that where should we take and what is their opinion. And so on that basis, I like to table and think about a little bit more. That's my opinion on this this particular project. And that's anybody
They
else?
also have density concerns.
Yes.
Just because we have a spot of land doesn't mean we have to put anything on it. Like you're mentioning, PJ, about maybe overwhelming our facilities. Because, if you bring in families, they're going to want to use our rec center and everything else that we have. And then also with the townhomes, I'm concerned about safety. With only a garage exit in the rear or jumping out a window, I would agree that we need more thought on this right now. I'm not real keen on what I've seen.
Because it's to me, if I add into what I said and what you're saying is that when you have all this established, so we're gonna have more than 2,500 to 3,000 people. If we fill it up, all the commercial building, the hotel, and the memory care hospitals we're talking about, so we're increasing that. So number of cars going in, and there are 2 entrances. Do you think that can handle that? Well, maybe 3 entrances. 1 entrance from Carver Road, 1 entrance from Pfeiffer, and 1 is from Plainfield Road. Plainfield Road, you go across all the houses and then come to our park. So, I mean, it's overwhelming, all these things coming together that, so it's just like to me that it's too much going on. And I like to see and think more about this. I saw their plans that looks beautiful. Everything is just to the T. Architecture everywhere. They're putting different kind of stucco and that all kind of stuff all the way. It looks beautiful. But I have this little concern that I like to talk to all the council people, get together and talk about these things in furthermore.
Yeah, I mean, I have some
Anybody else?
comments. The legislation in front of us is adding 180 new residential units, many of which are one-bedroom condos. So, I mean, I'm not sure where some of the earlier numbers were coming in of well over 1,000 residents. I guess you'd have to be including other things not in this legislation. But let's keep in mind where we were 3 years ago. 3 years ago this month, my tenure on council was all of 1 month. The overall plan for the summit, for the area outside Summit Park, was very different than what it is now. Residents were very upset with it, as they should have been, because the plan on the table at that time was overloaded with new apartments. It wasn't just the approach, the apartment building that's up now, but there were going to be hundreds more apartments beyond that on the land that this legislation is discussing right now. There were enough of us on council at that time where we didn't have a whole lot of cards to play with, given the agreements that had been made before that term of council. But we had just enough cards on the table where there were enough of us who got the developers to waive their rights to build more apartments beyond the approach. And we instead suggested to them that they look at things like condos and townhomes. In other words, anything but apartments, which is primarily what residents didn't want. So now here we are 3 years later, the developers have listened to us. They've taken our advice. We have a plan in front of us that has literally 0 new apartments. And so I'm a little surprised that then some of the same people who were most critical of new apartments 3 years ago are now being critical of this plan that does not include any new apartments. So then now it just gets down to, is the plan in front of us sufficient? From everything I can see, it is. The density is going to be much lower than it would have been if we were just putting a whole bunch of new apartment buildings on this site. So the density is not a huge concern for me. Will the townhomes and condos be successful? Well, none of us can say that with a definitive 100%, because no project you can't predict the future with 100% success. But I mean, what I'm seeing are some very nice looking condos and townhomes that have been successful elsewhere, or something similar has been successful elsewhere. And I mean, again, I'll note, we asked the developers to come back with something different than what was on the table 3 years ago, and they've done that. This overall seems like a winning plan. Of course, I'm happy to hear specific criticisms or concerns from others, but so far I think we're on the right track.
But Jeff, one thing, and you are correct in what you're saying. I was one that didn't want any more apartments, absolutely. And one of the things was the density of the homes and the density of the people. As said in the presentation, the school district and our amenities is what brings the folks in. If we have such a want to be here, then we can spread out and build more homes with more space, a space for yards. I look at Blue Ash as the bedroom community, not the townhome community, not the condo community, a community where we have yards, even though they may be smaller, but at least a yard to let your dog out in. I don't want a porch where I overlook a driveway and then look at my neighbor's driveway also. And that's just my viewpoint on this at this point in time.
I think there's also something to be said about diversity of housing options. Every neighborhood within a city doesn't have to be the same as every other neighborhood. So people who want big houses with big yards, there's a lot of that in Blue Ash. People who want apartments in Blue Ash have plenty of options. Condos where I live, there's a decent amount of options there. This is different than what you can get elsewhere in Blue Ash. And I think that this kind of housing diversity could well be a positive. I don't think we have to look down on it.
And let me be perfectly clear, there's nothing wrong with the aesthetics. I have no issue with the aesthetics. I do have an issue with homes just right next to one another, overlooking another garage. The condo buildings, okay, I'm not real keen on that, but the townhomes, I just don't like that at all. I really don't.
Well, I guess that was my question about the sightlines, because the neighborhood that I live in, it's a condominium. We have some attached and some detached, but they're situated so that you don't look out your front door and see anybody else's front door.
Yes.
And, I think that is a really nice thing that people, you want to have a nice sense of community, but you also want to have, a sense of privacy.
Correct.
So,
And the more land you have, the higher price you're going to get. Just because you have a big farm, you don't have to till every inch of it. And that's what we're trying to do right now, or the developers are trying to squeeze that limit, every juice out of that piece of juice out of that limit. Well, you don't have to do that all the time. And that's what we're doing. I understand the developer's point, but we also have to remember our point also. This is going to be a legacy for us. Let's say 20 years down the line, Councilman Cole, approved this, or Councilman Lee approved this, and it'll be talking about us like they talk about the people that approved the glass tower, Kenwood and Cooper. I just don't want no part of that. We got to put more forethought into this. And I just don't think right now the townhomes are the proper thing for Blue Ash at this point. As we're comparing, Mariemant's got this close, not to knock Mariemont or the statements in the presentation, but Mariemont is completely different from what we have here. We have an area where people want to live here, absolutely. So why not just build nicer places with more space and just charge a higher price? My point. I wouldn't buy a townhome where I'm right next to one another. I want privacy. I got 35 feet between me and anybody else, and I don't know what I got 40 foot in front. And I don't know what I got in back. Yeah. Who wants that? There's some people want it, but I don't. And I don't want it for Blue Ash.
Respectfully, I disagree. I will say, Matt, you've done a nice job. You've listened to us as far as change of, enhancing the design with a little more character and such. I will say this, over time, right now, if you're talking about Tom Hume's project or Great Traditions, that is sold out. That's the retreat of Summit Park. That's right nearby there. So there was a demand for those, and they're sold out. Daventry is getting close to being done. So there is a demand. And we have heard that the residents, not our residents, but people are interested in condos and townhouses. I like the designs overall. We planned this overall project. If you go big picture on this whole project, back to the beginning, it was designed for people and synergy. That's why it's all right there by the park, to create that synergy. It's unique. And there is a market out there for unique. That's what the people are looking for. It may not be you or me that are interested in this, but there are others that are. And I'm sorry, I like the project as presented.
Well, that's fine. But the retreat and Daventry, they are not touching one another. There is some privacy between those homes, and we don't have that in our townhomes.
Well, some of these are individuals, yes, in the design.
Some.
Not all, but.
Okay, but that's my point. That's exactly my point, is that I just think it takes down Blue Ash. It minimizes Blue Ash. What was, I don't know if anybody's here can remember Swifton Village. We all know what happened to that, and then he tore it down and he put up homes with yards. I mean, this is it's a vicious circle, and I just don't want to get into that loop.
We also have to consider
Well,
where we're talking about. We're talking about the development right outside Summit Park, where land is at a premium. It's a little more urbanish than other parts of the city. So it's just not feasible to build big houses with big yards in that specific strip of land. If you try doing that, you better have Elon Musk buying, you better have Bill Gates buying, and I don't know who number 3 is, because it would be extremely expensive.
Work. Yeah, the economics wouldn't work. I think that there is going to be, I do like the townhome condo living. I think it lends itself more towards kind of not an urban feel, but not urban. And even with the current pandemic, I think people, we want to be close to each other, but maybe not as close. And so I think this might be an attractive property for people that are moving, out of a city environment and want to have just a little bit more space, a little bit more greenery, not so much concrete. I think that, was it Mayor Serkin who's talked about, what is it, or I guess it was PJ, what's the economic impact on adding these residents, to the city services? What does that cost us? And, we're not getting new income tax revenue from this, from a substantial perspective. And how do we evaluate, how do we get the information to feel, is this going to be something that we can handle within our existing infrastructure? And what would the cost be?
Well, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say,
Go ahead.
I agree a lot with what Lee is saying, and to Jeff's point as well, that I commend you guys on this. It's extremely beautiful, well thought out project. It looks great. I do think that there's also a demand for these types of living. It's, Joe, maybe not what you want, but I think there is demand there for that different type of housing and opportunity and that diversity. And I think we all know that Summit Park is an extremely unique space and area. You're not going to find something like that very often, and that does drive people to want to live there and want to be there. And having that ownership, they're not apartments. We didn't want apartments. I think sets that apart as well. I hear concerns, and personally, I think just talking about this tonight, I don't feel comfortable making a decision on it tonight. I don't know how everyone else feels. We can talk about it more, but at this point in time, I do think there's a lot of benefits to this. And we've talked about not just this project, but other projects, and specifically downtown, and wanting to have that density that can support vibrant, lifetime, like that vibrancy in the city after 5 p.m. We have so many people that come in to work and then leave. So now that in Summit Park, PJ, you're talking about having, 1,500, 1,700 more people. Well, now you have those people that are in Blue Ash that hopefully will stay and support those businesses and those restaurants and those bars that we want, that nightlife. They'll be here to be able to support those businesses after 5 o'clock. And that the time span of this, if we're talking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years until that's all full, it's not like it's happening overnight where you're bringing in 1,000 more people that quickly. But I don't know. Have we seen any issues? I know the volume with the apartments isn't quite there yet, but the concerns with so many people coming in and out of the park, have we seen any concerns or issues yet with that? It seems like it's been very well thought out with, the roundabouts and traffic, people coming in. We're probably nowhere near what we envision it to be. But I don't know, I see a lot of benefits. I think this type of housing, you've done a great job with that transition from, the individual homes to this medium density, then on to the high density. So
the other, I hate to jump back in, but, we've talked about this long time, and that is a diversity of our housing stock. Okay. For a long time, we were either on one end of the spectrum or on the higher end of the spectrum. Really nothing in between there. And when we talk about diversity in our housing stock, people are transitioning all the time. Either they're moving up, they want to move into the school system, buy a home, have kids, etc., or they've raised their families. Now they want to downsize. It could be to townhomes, condos, or even further than that, to apartments. We're providing a lot more diversity here. This project was designed for diversity in our housing stock. It was designed around our business base also. Those companies that have all made their homes around the perimeter of the park are looking for their employees to live nearby. That's what this is about. So, we have to keep that in mind. Yeah, I remember all the arguments on the apartments. The developers listened to us. This is not apartments. It's not a big enough space to put anything else as far as larger properties or such. It's really designed for this. That's how I see it.
Mayor, this is David. Procedurally, let me just suggest to you, PJ at the beginning of this had suggested that he wanted to table it. In the interest of you kind of coming to some resolution, you may want to either decide whether you want to table and think about it some more, or if you don't want to, then obviously don't table, and then you can continue deliberating for a final vote tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody, I'm going to be really quick. I've been, very pleased how the retreat in Daventry have filled in. I am pleased to hear that the approach is filling in better than I thought. I walk at night and it looked to me like it was pretty sparse, the amount of people that have moved in. So that was some pleasant information. I really want to see condos at the park. It may not be for me. It may not be for Joe. I like a little bit more elbow room and a little bit more air, but I can certainly understand the reason why people would want to live next to that amenity and would want to not have a lot of work to do in their yard. I mean, I'll be there someday. My only question is, going back to the master plan, talked about this whole development, the 99 acres, as comprising partially an employment center, and there's nothing. This rehabilitation hospital obviously will have some workers. I mean, there's probably a few workers at the approach, obviously. There's no information on the 75,000 square foot building. So I have just a little bit of a concern. If we go ahead with this and this is successful and the approach fills in and we have all these residents, financially, is it going to be a strain on the city if we don't have much of an employment center for the next 3 to 5 years? I just have that teeny bit of concern that needs to get worked through.
Yes.
So that's all I have to say. I mean, I'll go back to anybody else who has any questions.
And that's a very good point, Mark. I mean, as we have all found out, this bug has made a new world for us. People are working from home. The office buildings, I can see those Reed Hartman Highway, on a lot of those office buildings we have turned into condos, 10, 15 years down the road, because the evolution of people working from home electronically. I mean, how many, as Lee said, transient homes do we need? Agreed. The developers listen to us. There are no more apartments, and thank you. But right now, I just don't feel comfortable with the townhomes themselves, so close, so tightly packed. It just doesn't seem like a Blue Ash neighborhood to me. It doesn't.
Well, I don't have a problem anymore after listening to everybody and seeing the new elevations. I don't have a problem with the project. I think buyer beware. Buyer buys what he wants. And buyers bought $1 million homes in Daventry, and they bought $700,000 homes in the retreat. And I can see with nice amenities, they 450 starting to 750. It's obviously doable here, and it's that's not as much of a risk. But personally, I'm just kind of leaning toward maybe take a quick pause, get some financial questions answered of what the viability is if the employment center doesn't come, and then come back to this in a very short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with tabling this to a future meeting, in part just because I think it's good to give courtesy to council members who want to learn more information.
Yeah, it sounded to me like Katie, PJ, and Joe, myself are not 100%. Well, some of us are not close to 100%, aren't 100% sure we don't want to take a quick breather. And this is a big project. It's an important project, and I personally want to make sure that I'm happy, and well, or four of us are very happy and very comfortable.
You'd have, somebody needs to make a motion to table.
If there's no questions, then I can propose a table, this 2021-01, that if everybody wants to. But what I like to do is now that I like to table this this resolution number 2021-01 for future discussion, and give us enough time to discuss about this project. There's nothing wrong with this project, but I feel like that I think all 7 of us, we need to think a little bit more, and then just let's get a little bit more time, discuss about these things, and then bring it back on the table later on. So I like to table. If somebody wants to second me and take a vote.
I'll second it.
Jimmy, can you roll call, please?
Or do we need a roll call?
It's up to whoever has made the motion.
What do you want to do?
Okay.
And how long are you, the question is, how long are you going to table it for?
Well, I mean, you can do that now, or the ordinances say that you just pull it off the table at a particular time. So you don't necessarily need an end time. I guess if you want to add that, you can, but you don't need to. The next time it would be someone will make a motion to pull it off the table.
I mean, personally, I think we could do it at the next meeting. I don't know if this has to be a long thing. I just give us a little time to do some research, and it's not going to take months. It's going to take, a week maybe. But that's what I would suggest.
I like to put it down on a table, to put it down in a February 1st meeting for February. Is everybody agreed? Then we can go with that. That gives us more than enough time.
Well, we got 2 different motions going now.
Well,
No,
that's why we're talking about now, since Brian told about this, that we need to put a time limit. So I'm coming back into the time. So it's not 2 proposal. Hold on. It's not a 2 proposal.
Hold one sec, please. I did not say you needed a time limit. I said just the opposite. I said all you need to do is move to table it. And then when you decide you want to move to table it or pull it off the table, you can do that. Now, if you want to put a limit on it, that's fine, but you don't need to, and it's not required. The only motion that needs to be made, which takes precedent over all of them, is a motion to table, which you have a motion and a second right now. I guess if you want to amend your motion to take it off the table now and put it back on another, you can, but make that amended motion if that's what you want to do.
Now, there is a meeting on the 28th, PJ, of January.
Okay.
I'd rather just vote on the first motion that's already been made.
Well, unless PJ wants to amend it.
I'm not clear as much as what's going on right now.
All right, Joe, let me clarify. Right now,
I understand what you said,
okay.
Brian. There's no time limit. And now I'm confused about the 2 different motions. I thought we were going to make a motion to table it. There is no time limit to bring it back on the table. We want to discuss it. And then I hear, well, we got to talk about it in our next council meeting. It's not making a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, the time limit, I put a time limit on it. That's
so
what
we did.
PJ, would you like to amend your motion?
Yes. Let's do these things that we have this resolution
You know, what we could
We
do.
like to-
is we
what
could
would
put
you
on your
like to-
original motion to table it, and then I will bring it up off I will have a motion to bring it off the table at our next meeting.
Okay,
That way,
that's,
we don't have to change anything.
That would be fine.
okay, that will be fine.
All right, do we have a second to PJ's
The
original?
second,
Yeah, Jill, yeah, you have an original motion from PJ and a second from Jill. So you're ready to call either. It's PJ's call, whether he wants to have the roll call or whether it's a voice vote.
I just want to go for a roll call.
Okay.
Okay. Councilman Wonka,
Yes.
Councilman Leet,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes,
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman Capel,
Yes.
Mayor Serkin.
Yes.
7 yeses to table.
Okay. we're
that's
gonna
all,
move- Thank you,
that's
PJ.
all, Mayor.
We're gonna move on
That's
to
all,
Public
Mayor.
Works Committee, Councilperson Joe Lee.
Hi, Jamie, please read resolution number 2021-06 by title only, please.
A resolution accepting the necessary various and respective interests in land for the purpose of a road improvement project, the Ham Plainfield Road roundabouts in the city of Blue Ash, Hamilton County, Ohio.
Move to adopt resolution 2021-06. I have a
Second.
second. Okay. Any discussion on this? If there is, Gordon, you can answer the question. This is basically the roundabout and the gift that keeps on giving to us. So with that, Jamie, please call roll.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes,
Councilman Capel,
Yes.
Councilman Leet,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Mayor Serkin,
Yes.
7 yeses.
And Jamie, please read resolution 2021-07 by title only, please.
Authorize. Do we need to restart it before I continue? Julie?
No, you don't. That was just tied to one of the participants who left the room. You can
Okay.
keep on going.
Authorizing the city manager to make payment for professional traffic signal system parts, repair and maintenance services, and utility marking and locating services throughout 2021.
Move to adopt resolution 2021-07.
Second.
second,
Any discussion on this? This is basically what it says, fix traffic lights, safety first, we won't last. Any other? Jamie, please call roll.
Councilman Capel,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
yes,
Councilman Leet,
Yes,
Mayor Serkin,
Yes.
7 yeses.
that's all tonight. man.
Thank you. Let's move to the Public Safety Committee, Chairman Jeff Capel.
Yes, thanks. We just have one item. Jamie, can you please read resolution number 2021-08 by title only?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a professional services agreement for management services associated with fee collection for emergency medical service transport.
I move that we adopt resolution number 2021-08.
Second.
second,
All right. And I'll just note that Blue Ash residents are not billed for EMS runs. So any other discussion?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I do have a question now that you bring that up, Jeff. So you're telling me if I live in Montgomery and I'm in Blue Ash, I would get charged?
I hope so.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, I'll defer any further answers on that to administration, but my understanding all along has been we did this specifically so that we're not charging Blue Ash residents for this.
Good
That's
enough.
nice.
And since nobody else seems to be chiming in, so let's do the roll call.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes. Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Capel,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilman Leet,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
yes.
Mayor Serkin,
Yes.
7 yeses.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move to miscellaneous business. Let's start with David. There he is. You're muted. There you go.
Sorry about that. Just a quick Happy New Year's to everyone. Looking forward to a wonderful 2021. As you can imagine, we spend much of this time of the year wrapping up projects and budgets and line items and all that good stuff. And then starting the new round of projects and what have you. We do look forward to, over the next few months, starting to bring you up to speed on the impact of last year and some tweaks that may or may not be advised in various departments, but nothing specific I have to offer tonight. I do want to just remind everyone, I think I said that we closed on the Hosbrook property right before the holidays. At this point, Gordon is working on plans to demolish that, I think probably by early February. Couple other things I know everyone, our various department heads are going to share, just, some quick updates on some things, but we plan on the next few meetings having some more detailed discussion on a lot of things that may come up. So that's all I have, and look forward to it.
Great, thanks. Kelly, I don't know where she went.
Oh, no. Well,
there you are.
Oh, great. I'm here. I actually have nothing this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Great. Chief Knoll.
I just have one thing. Some of you may have seen it already. Some of you may not, but tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I will be up at Sycamore High School awarding a student by the name of Abby Patel a $500 scholarship, and teacher Elise William a $250 grant to buy anything in her her graphics art class. We had a contest, and I asked Miss Williams if her class would design a new cruiser for us, a new cruiser design. So we have 3 of our new cruisers out on the road now. So if you happen to see a black police cruiser driving around the city of Blue Ash, don't be alarmed, because it is one of ours. They look very different than what we had prior to these 3. So I will have Rachel along with me tomorrow, and we'll take some pictures, but it was a fun ride, and they enjoyed it. They were not expecting to get any kind of award, and we did that out of the Blue Ash Police Association. So it's not any city money, but that's all I have.
That's great.
Thank you. Chief Theaters.
Just one quick item, just kind of related to the Hosbrook property. We have been using one of the houses on Cooper Road for training. So if you have any constituents that say, hey, I see the fire department over there, I see smoke in the area, it's just us doing training. And now that we have that property, it's just really beneficial for our people to do some actual hands-on in some houses. So we'll probably be doing that for the next couple weeks.
Great, thank you. Brian Cruz.
Nothing tonight, sir. Thank you.
You're too easy. Gordon, I know you got stuff.
Yeah, I got a quick update for the Duke gas pipeline. I had a conference call with them on Friday and wanted to give you a quick update. The construction project is, you can see that their construction trailers are already getting set up on the east campus of the former P&G property. Multiple trailers and equipment up there right now. They plan to get started on March 1st, and they're going to start north of 275 and bore across to the upper parking lot at the sports center. They plan to have 3 crews working at the same time, 3 different sections in Blue Ash, to try to expedite that project. Their crews will get about 150 to 200 feet of pipe in a day, and it's expected to take about 4 months to complete. So the project mostly is on private property. It's in easements that they purchased from the various property owners, and the crossings where they'll come across the public roads, those will be all coordinated with a traffic control plan. We have Brian Cruz supplied me with our events plan for Summit Park, so we'll share that with them. They do have a laydown area at Summit Park on the westernmost portion of the old taxiway, so they will be located there as well. So they plan to basically backfill as soon as they get done with 150 to 200 feet of pipe. They'll go back and fill all that back in, do some temporary asphalt to get it opened back up as soon as possible. There will be very restricted times where they might have to do night work just to not affect businesses. As you're aware, most of the alignment is just in our commercial areas. So to keep the businesses open during the day, there will be some select night work. They will also, one of the most important things probably is that they will be renting a space in the strip center behind Chick-fil-A. So they're going to have a field office there where they'll be able to receive complaints. We can direct anybody who has questions about the project, complaints, comments. They will get referred to there, where they'll have a staff available to meet and address any issues that they have. So that should get started here soon. That's all I have.
Thank you. Jamie.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Julie.
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Sherry.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Wow, this is quick. I saw Dan Johnson was on here for a while, but
I don't have anything. I'm disembodied, but I don't have anything. Thank you.
all right. Councilor Pacheco.
Just wanted to wish you all a happy new year, safe and hopefully at some point a little less socially distant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right, Council. Jeff, you want to start off?
I have nothing tonight. Thanks.
Wow. Katie?
I know that nobody logged on for public comment, but I just want to say I appreciate that option was available tonight. I think it's a lot more effective when residents do have the opportunity, as we're doing Zoom meetings, to be able to log on and so we can see them and hear them as they make their comments. So I just want to say I appreciate that. And then I also want to say thank you to administration. We've gotten a lot of questions, or I've gotten them anyway, in the past week or two about recreation, many different amenities and services and all of that. So I think it just, as this pandemic has gone on so long and people are utilizing those, and so thanks for all the information, things that I've learned over the last week or two about those, that residents are very, very interested in what we're doing to upgrade and maintain them. So we have a lot, I'm sure, in the future to interested to hear more about, those plans as we move forward over the next year past kind of this pandemic. But that's all I have. Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you. Joe, what you got?
Not a whole lot. You talked about the dog park earlier, and made me wonder about any leftover sand that we have from the golf course. Could we put in the dog area to have them run on sand instead of the dirt? Could that be an option? Brian and Katie, that's up for you guys to think about. And Kelly, I want to thank you for having a correct clock for once, and Happy New Year to everybody. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thanks. Jill, what do you have?
Hi, everybody, and I want to echo a Happy New Year. And just to tag off of what Katie is saying, I've been back working out at the Blue Ash Rec Center, and you guys have done a terrific job. There's lots of space. It feels very safe. I live near the golf course. There's lots of activity up there, even days that I think it's way too cold to be playing golf. But I just think it's so wonderful that we have this to offer our residents, and so many people still out walking, even though the weather is not very favorable, although it's going to get that polar vortex. It's going to sweep down. Sadly, though, I think I just had something pop up that Hamilton County just went into purple, which is really disappointing. Hopefully that won't last too long, because I think we're all ready to be done with this. So that's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks. Lee, what do you have?
Just to wish everybody a happy new year, or a better new year, I should say, this year. But other than that, all's good. Thank you.
PJ.
I have one point. Just want to talk to and talk about to Gordon. Is there any new future plans that in connectivity there is a no sidewalk between the Peppermill Lane and Cooper Road on a Reed Hartman Road? I just asking the questions to him. Do we have any plan, or can you squeeze in while we're doing the roundabout? So just wanted to talk, see if what he's thinking, and can we put it down in the future to complete that walkable thing, walkable connections. Besides that, no, I hope everybody is well, and Happy New Year to everyone. And let's get rid of this COVID-19 very fast, get well, and let's get together and have a nice dinner or lunch, whatever we're doing face to face. That will be very nice in the future. That's all, Mayor.
Thanks, PJ. A couple quick things. A lot of us got an email from Terry Goodman about the tennis courts. I had a nice long talk with him
Yes.
the other day, and he's fine. You know, our courts are flat as can be. They don't have swells and heaves. They've got cracks. The fences are worn out. They're at the end of their useful life, but it's very playable surface. I know someday Brian's going to get the blank check to redo the pool and redo the tennis courts, but you guys are such cheap that that's the problem. So, but he's fine and he understands. This is not the exact right time that you're going to be putting in multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars into the courts. They're very playable and very usable still. We're probably going to hear from some of our constituents when they start doing the Duke pipeline, and you have to remind them that we obviously filed a lawsuit and our request for a stay was denied by the Ohio Supreme Court. They didn't even give us an option of putting up a bond. They just denied the stay, period. So there is absolutely nothing we can do, even though our lawsuit is still going through and they still have to make a decision if the pipeline's necessary or not. Now, it looks like they might get that decision made after the pipeline's finished, but the last thing, and also related to this project, just to know, somewhere in June or July, Gordon thinks Glendale Milford Road is going to be closed as you go to the west into Evendale at Plainfield. So that's going to be a couple months project. Obviously traffic's going to be rerouting around, and just be aware of it. If people ask, you can go up and down Plainfield Road, but you will not be able to go west on Glendale Milford. So that's all I have. Stay healthy, get the vaccine when you can. And with this, let's move into executive session for property acquisition to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, or for the sale of property at competitive bidding, if the premature disclosure of information would give an unfair, competitive, or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal, private interest is adverse to the general public interest. With that, I would like I'm going to make a motion that we move into executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jamie, will you please call the roll?
Unmute yourself.
Councilman,
Amy.
I don't
Here she
think she
is.
was muted. It just wasn't coming through.
I was muted and I'm unmuted now. Can you
Oh,
hear
you're
me?
good now.
Yes.
Councilman Leet,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cole,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Capel,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Mayor Serkin.
Yes.
7 yeses.